Yo, I'm back. The Foul Hooked Whitey. Back part 2. Fly fishing AK with the Macho Man. I left off in part 1 having this wonderful first day experience with the proprietor of this lodge, Alaskan Adventures, a gentleman by the name of Dan Paul. And I ended up having just such a euphoric first day, maybe too good of a first day, because it didn't spoil the rest of the week. But I'll say from the onset, I never beat day 1 for the rest of the week. I had other superb individual experiences with these pike, but in terms of ever beating the rest of the week a 48 and a 47-inch pike to the hand, no, I did not beat that. You go there to catch a 50-incher. You go there to catch a 50-incher. You sell this trip to a client talking about a 50-incher. And after day 1 of fishing with the Macho Man, I knew that potential was definitely there. I mean, a 48-inch pike, 25 pounds on a boga grip, that's a great fish. So day two, I told Dan, as he was, working through the guide assignments, that, I wanted to fish with Alistair. Just that short bit of interaction that I had with Alistair on the first night in, I wanted to fish with him at first because I like the kid's intellect. I like the kid's intellect. So we get out there, and Alistair was excited to fish with me too. I mean, I got some game when it comes to casting, and I got some game when it comes to, being there to fish hard, and their ratio of gear guys to fly guys is probably 60-40, 65-35 gear to fly fishing ratio, something like that. So they do get their fly anglers there, but I mean, let's face it. I mean, a lot of people, they can only cast so well, and nobody's fucking bragging it up here. I'm just saying that when they know they're with a competent angler, they want to see what their fishery can do. So I head out with Alistair that morning, and these mornings of going, motoring to your spot, your drive time to your spot. I mean, on day 1 with the Macho Man, we went a fucking hour one way. 1 hour. 25 river miles to the barge. I mean, took an hour. So your runs out in the morning, I was really lucky. These mornings can be fucking cold as far as burning up there in this John boat, and it was actually beautiful and comfortable all fucking week. I mean, it was actually warm at times, hot at times. I mean, which you can get freezing in AK 2 seconds later. It's weird there, but I headed out with Alistair, and we stopped in this spot that was called Beaver Hut. And the way to describe Beaver Hut is probably 100 to 200 yard side channel in. And once you get in, there's a large pond on the other side of it. Can't remember what they call it. So this first row up Beaver Hut was probably my second best hour of fishing all week, with the exception of the day before with the barge with the Macho Man. So Alistair goes in there with me nice and quiet, and the kid got me to actually fish with one of those fucking dragon tails. I hate to admit that. I'm a more of a traditional guy, but hey, I was jovial. I liked the vibe with this young man, and I wanted to catch a great fish. And let's face it, a dragon tail, which is a fly tying material, looks like something that I played with as a kid with a piece of fishing line. Is this fucking snake or worm type thing? It's known to fish for everything from trout to tarpon, and it's particularly popular as a fly tying material for pike and muskie fishing. So he gets me to fish this thing, and holy fuck. This motherfucking thing works. In the first hour, 45 minutes of getting rowed up this Beaver Hut, I sticked a tape 45 that was fat, and a 43, which was fat. And that right there, it just, as a streamer fisherman, fucking made you feel like a king. A straight up king. And it was fun fishing with Alistair. He wasn't, the craziness of fishing the day before with the Macho Man. He was calm, collected, professional, and supportive of when you were casting, what you were doing. Fed off of the success. Good young guide. After we went into Beaver Hut, we ended up kind of going more upstream where we opened up into this big fucking pond. And my impression this morning was, here's this cow moose munching away, letting us get 50, 60, 75 feet away with the boat before she scatters. That was the one thing about fishing the Holitna that was like, for me, as somebody that loves the outdoors and loves critters, this was like a moose Super Bowl. Like you could see 4 to 6, 6 to 8, 10 adults a day, and some of those would have babies with them. Sometimes twins. I mean, I live in Wyoming, and I was born in Montana, and I have a big shop in Billings, Montana, and I haven't seen a bunch of moose in my career. Some, but not a ton. You get on the Holitna, you're going to see a ton. So we get into this big open area where this moose is munching on grass, and it's just this feeling of luxury, because every single time you threw that pike fly, you definitely believed after just a day and a half of fishing now that there was going to be a grab, an eat, a bite every fucking time. You really did. I mean, there was just that many fish in the system. We were rolling numbers, and a lot of those numbers are anywhere between 18 inches and high 20s, some skinny, some fat. But there was always a grab. And, pike are interesting. And what I mean by interesting is that I've caught a lot of different species in my career fishing, and pike are not going to be on a reel for a long period of time if you know what you're doing. Even big ones. I got through the course of this trip where if I had an undersized fish, I was stripping that motherfucker. I was getting his nose out of the water, and I was dragging him across to the surface for my guide to grab and my guide to get rid of and get and let go safely and efficiently, so I can get back out there looking for that 40-incher. So that was another similarity of some of the peacock bass fishing I've done, is that you had to go through a lot of smaller fish to get that chocolate cake. And when you start to hit something in the 32 to 36, 36 to 40 inch range, you know right away you've got a nicer fish, because that fish pulls. You're not stopping that fish at first. And that fish just feels heavy on a 10 weight. And that's what I fished all week, was a 10 weight. You can get away with fishing an 8 or a 9 there, no doubt, but I like a 10 weight when you're going for those bigger pike. So the fight on these pike was exhilarating, because it was a 5-minute knife fight in the alley fight. It was 5 minutes of chaos. It was 5 minutes of weight. It was 5 minutes of a fish taken off from you to a certain degree. If you didn't let that line go, you were going to burn your fingers with that line running through your hand. So they do have that power. They do have that power on a hook set to be impactual. We're talking 15, 20, 25 pound fish here, so they should be. But pike are not going to fight for very long. If you catch an oversized fish and you know what you're doing, I mean, that fish should be to the side of the boat in 4 to 5 minutes tops. Right? They're just not that they're not an endurance fighter. What pike are they can be super aggressive, but they can also be just super fucking cautious. Super cautious. That's why a figure 8 works on a pike, and I'll touch on that later. So after we fish this area with Alistair, we have our lunch, and then we go to what turned out to be the joke of the week. And that was an area called Pike Bay. And Pike Bay is same story. It's a body of water that is off the main flow, off the main current, because here's the thing with pike. They want no flow. They want 100% still water. That's the environment that they're cut out for. So that's why you're going in all these sloughs, and this Pike Bay is one of them. And the reason it became the joke of the week is because these young guys had a couple of like New Jersey clients in who did this Dago, take me to Pike Bay, this whole thing. And throughout the entire course of the week, not only with Alistair, but the other guys having fun, we made reference and tried to, imitate these Jersey guys. And Pike Bay became like kind of a particularly cool place during the course of my fishing week. So we didn't really do that great at Pike Bay. The weather was starting to wane a little bit. And we ended up closing out the day by going back to Beaver Hut, catching some more, nothing big. And that wrapped up my second day. So it was definitely a fulfilling, good, cool day. So I got no complaints about it. And I got to know Alistair better, which was really the highlight of the day, frankly, in addition to two nice pike. So day three, what ends up happening is I end up getting a chance to fish with Alistair again. And I like that because one of the other guides was sick, and so they had to change the roster up again. But I had such a fun day before with Alistair, I decided to, it was good to get him for day number 3. We end up spending the first part of the morning fishing for she fish. And so she fish, to me, the best way to describe this is she fish are big whitefish. They've got an upward mouth, and they're beautiful, actually. And my God, these guys who are really into catching she fish, you can catch these fucking things up to 20, 25 pounds, maybe even bigger. So imagine a big whitefish that's aggressive on a fly, or in a lot of these guys' case, gear fishing. So I spent about 60, 75, 90 minutes, 2 hours fishing for basically busting she fish on the surface. Meaning we would anchor in an area, watch these she fish come up, tail, eat. They were eating like lamprey, which is some sort of like fucking freshwater eel of some sort. And they would come up and, like I said, bust the surface. And you could fish for them with a popper with a fly, or you could fish for them with like varied clousers. And so I ended up catching a couple of these she fish. Nothing great, 4 to 6 pounds, 5 to 7 pounds. Really, again, a beautiful fish that's got a much prettier hue to them than you would see in 90% of all pictures. They kind of have that grayling effect when it comes to the fact that you really can't picture how pretty they can be, actually. And the other thing about she fish is, and I learned this by staying at the lodge, they're fucking delicious. I mean, they're fucking delicious. I mean, you're going to harvest these damn things and you're going to eat them. However, after about 90 minutes, 2 hours of this, I looked at Alistair and I was like, let's roll. Let's roll. So just because I was there to fish for pike, and considering the first 2 days I'd had, that's what I wanted. So at that point, we go on and we pursue pike, and we end up catching some okay ones during the course of the day. But I'm not sure if I ever topped 40 inches, but I had another really good day with Alistair. I will say that one pond that we went in to fish had this weird kind of like reddish clay type tint to it, right? The water. The water we fish varied from crystal clear to off color, right? Brownish off color. And it all can work. But I'll never forget some of the fish in this particular pond and how that beautiful pike color with that red contrast of watercolor, how it really just made these fish on an eat. Just something you never fucking forget. So day 3, I had another superb day with Alistair. Day 4, I get to fish with the Macho Man again, and I was looking forward to this. We ended up going, the Macho Man hyped this place that we were going to go fish. Considering my day 1 with Dan on the barge, I mean, yeah, I was jacked up to maybe finally catch that 50-incher. I felt like we could. And we get into this place, and right away just tap fish, pike, tap pike, strip pike. I mean, just, I must have had 6, 8, 10 fish in the first 45 minutes, 30 minutes of fishing. Nothing great, but still getting grabs and still catching them. So we go throughout the course of this big, beautiful slough, and and Dan has had a lot of success with clients in this particular area. I mean, this is the owner of the lodge who's going to take his better clients to his better sloughs, his better areas, and this is one of them. But we didn't really have the success in this slough through the course of the day that I'd had even in the first 2 days. That's for sure. Even maybe the day before. I finally ended up catching something good in the lower 40s, but for the most part, this fishery itself, except for fun, getting to know Dan better, being a chance to be out in the middle of nowhere. I mean, it was still a great day of pike fishing. One notable aspect. So when I said that, like, this 110-mile river, the Holitna, nobody's fucking there. That nobody is fucking there except for Alaskan Adventurers Lodge, right? I mean, nobody's there. However, there's a famous lodge, a big dollar lodge, that flies clients in on a float plane to the Holitna to fish for pike. I believe the lodge is called the Royal Coachman. And it's actually, I think, owned by some Montana guys, the Vermilions. But we actually heard them land. Now, you got to understand that, like, I'm bringing this up because we're in the middle of fucking nowhere, man. Like, we're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And all of a sudden, you hear this plane land. And then 15, 20, 25 minutes after that, bam, you hear an outboard. That's because this lodge has got a John boat with an outboard stashed. So when they land with their clients, they all get into the boat and they go out and they go pike fishing just like we're doing. And how in the fuck these guys ended up in the same slough that me and the Macho Man were fishing, I mean, damn, it was the only time the entire week that I personally didn't have the exclusivity of this wonderful fucking fishery. Wonderful fishery. Wonderful meaning not only is the pike fishing what it was, which was superb through the course of my week, but also the wildlife impact of taking off and flying trumpeter swans, beavers, river otters, moose, supposedly bear, didn't see any. And here all of a sudden, I'm sharing this fucking slough with these douchebags from the Royal Coachman Lodge. That's a little negative, but that's how I felt. You know, you're fucking with my mojo here, guys. Go somewhere else. And they did. They felt the vibe. So overall, day number 4, not a bust, but not what I expected, considering how much the Macho Man played this shit up. But it just was what it was. It's called fishing, not catching. Day 5 was really the start to the funnest fishing I probably had all week. I ended up getting with this young man by the name of Aaron, and I called him right away Aaron. He looked like an Aaron, he talked like an Aaron, young kid, excitable, jacked up to be fishing with a competent fly angler. I mean, we just set the tone for what was going to be a good day together, whether we caught fish or not. Best way to put it. So we end up going to this area. I can't remember. It's South something. I called it Southgate Mall. But it was just another big slough, another big entryway. And it was the most prolific fishing I had all day. All week was this day. There was some chocolate cake at the end of the day, but the first part of the day was numbers like I hadn't seen. We get to this mouth of an entry that was probably 200, 300, 400 yards long, narrow slough, quietly rowing through it. And in that first 90 minutes, 2 hours until we got to this big open sloop, this big pond area, I tagged so many decent fish that, like, it was anybody could do it. Anybody could do what I was doing. They weren't all fat 36 inchers, but there was a lot of quality and a lot of visual and a lot of action, including seeing a couple of big follows. And this whole time, I'm having this experience, again, as a streamer nut. Aaron's just rooting my ass on. We finally get through this slough. I don't even know how many fucking fish I touch. I don't know, 30 in 2 hours, 35. I mean, it was really quite a few nice fish. And we get into, again, a big open area. And at that point, it got tougher. We weren't on them as much as we were on this entryway. And we fished there for a little bit further. And then we fished the inlet out to get back to the main body of water and caught more fish as we exited. But it was amazing to me how these fish were in this slough. They were in this ditch as you came into this big wide open area to fish. At that point, we start heading back to Pike Bay. And I'd fished Pike Bay one time previously with Alistair. Didn't really have that much luck. It was overcast. It was windy. Weather was getting bad. And now we were at Pike Bay with the sun of, bluebird day, warm, hot, nice pike day. So we get into this area and all of a sudden I start tagging some fish. And then we finally get into a slough, just meaning more of a finger off this main pond, this main body of water. And Aaron's just moving me up quietly. And I see an oversized pike cruising in 2 feet of water, 10, 12 feet off the front left part of the boat I was on, standing up in front looking, casting. Without even saying anything to my guide, I plop that pike bug. I lead this fish right. I start to strip it. It follows. It eats it right at our feet, like literally just right there. We both saw it. Oversized fish. Thing blows up. Thing gets hung up. We get him undone. Land him properly. I don't know, 43 inches, 20 pounds, something like that. And the exhilarating part of that was that I literally sight casted to that fish. I mean, I don't ever sight cast trout. Some people say they do, but I don't. But to see such a big, massive pike cruising in such shallow water and to pull that off with a good plop and a good retrieve made the whole day. For the next hour or so, we continued to pop nice fish. But it was that moment where I got my chocolate cake for that day with Aaron. Next day, day 6, final day, I made the choice to fish with Aaron again. I asked the Macho Man, to give me on my last day Aaron. Not because I didn't want to fish with one of the guys I didn't get a chance to fish with, but just because I needed Aaron that day to fulfill that 50 for me, catch that 50-inch fish. And we had that opportunity because on that last day of fishing, we ended up going back to the spot that I fished on day 1 with the Macho Man, where I caught that 47 and 48. Considering the exciting day I had with Aaron the day before, the weather that was forecasted for that day, everything was set up perfect for me to achieve that goal. So on that last day, me and Aaron, it was like coach and QB walking to the boat, being serious, acting like we'd been there before because we had, pumped up for the show. We go back to the barge with, of course, the Macho Man's permission. There's a certain protection when it comes to these beats. These guys fish. You don't get to fish wherever you want. That's for damn sure. So I was privileged, considering there was a group coming in the next day. I was privileged to get the opportunity to go back and fish there and see if I can catch this 50. Biggest fish they've caught this season, which is 49.5 inches, came from the barge. So after an hour of cruising, we get there and we make our way into this soft little inlet, the entryway, and just under us, wow, we already see big fish. These fish will sun and they'll be on top, they'll float. They may not even fucking pay attention to your fly if you plop it on their snout. But you get a chance to see a lot of these pike. That's a real cool aspect of this fishery is shallow grass and water right there. And there's a 40-incher just laid up right there, right below you, and he's not scattering as you're rowing by. Pike are funky. They're weird. So Aaron and I get in there, and we start to work the same bank that I had done so well with Dan 5 days prior. And through the course of this last day of fishing, it was tough as fuck. It was tough as fuck. We saw a lot of fish, got some okay follows, caught some fish. But considering the hype going back to this spot, day 6 was a bust. After lunch, Aaron and I started to draw analogies about how we were in this tough football game. We're both sports fans, dropping scores. We're a little ahead, we're a little behind. Tough day, no offense. Couldn't get these fucking pike to bite. And with an hour or two left, Aaron says, I'm taking my socks off. I'm like, motherfucker, why are you taking your socks off? He's like, because that's how I turn the luck around, is by taking my socks off, like when I used to gamble. Huh. I was like, okay, I get it. Thank you. Still nothing. Lots of frustration. Some real quality fish following the bug and not eating it. Catching a few here and there, but nothing worthy, and certainly coming not close whatsoever to anything I caught on that first day. So finally, we're done. We're done. It's over. We got to get back. Macho Man's strict on when his guides bring his clients back, right? It's a safety thing out there, middle of fucking nowhere. And Aaron looks at me and says, I'll hustle back. 5 more minutes. And, I'm dead. This is 6 straight days of 500 casts a day. Who fucking knows how many? Throwing a 10 weight. My right arm is exhausted. I got cuts. I got slits on my fingers. I mean, I'm beat up from 6 hard days, but I'll take those 5 minutes. Thank you, Aaron. And sure enough, with just minutes to go, seconds to go, I draw a nice fish off the same area I'd fished for 6 hours prior, hard, back and forth. And I get this nice follow. And this fish comes up, slow, not aggressive. And I start the figure 8. I get this fish to follow, but this fish will not eat my fly. Finally, after about 90 seconds, I do something right. And I get this pike to eat my fly right in front of both of us. And on the hook set, Aaron and I, both together, guide client, anglers, we exploded. All the frustration, all the difficulty, all the no winning all day long finally resulted in this figure 8 eat at our feet when we needed a good fish for our day. We caught fish, but we didn't catch anything that was qualifying 40 inches or bigger. And after 2, 3, 4 minutes, I land this fish. We get him on the boga for a pick. Drop the tape. And it was 40 inches on the nose. And me and this young guy, this young man, we motored back to the lodge victoriously. I spent my last night enjoying the environment I was in, enjoying the company that I got to experience that week with Alaskan Adventures. From the adventurous flight in to the forever memories of huge pike eating my fly right in front of me, to the camaraderie, skill, and professionalism of Dan Paul, the Macho Man, and his crew, Richard the Cook. This trip, fly fishing AK with the Macho Man, was the trip of a lifetime. I am the Foul Hooked Whitey, and I'm out.